Hi there, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Our major stories tonight. Another disturbing case of child abuse recorded again in Douala. A 9-year-old girl known as Samun Dedi Nura allegedly suffered severe burns after her grand aunt allegedly placed a hot iron on her buttocks to punish her for losing the sum of 500 francs CFA. The incident occurred in the Dogbong neighborhood in the Douala 5 subdivision. Meantime, the different cases of child torture recorded in Douala have sparked widespread condemnation from civil society actors, the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family, and the international community. According to them, such acts greatly undermine the dignity and fundamental rights of children. They are urging the public to desist from such acts. Those are major stories tonight. The news in full in a jiffy. Thank you for getting yourself informed on news on Equinoxe television. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. Residents of Japumakolbong are demanding justice for 7-year-old Mercy, who was allegedly chained up by her mother. The shocking case has sparked widespread outrage, with many condemning the mother's actions while describing her as heartless. Our reporter Malaglory reports on this disturbing story.
The house where a shocking act of cruelty was uncovered in Japumakolbong remains sealed off. More than 24 hours after a disturbing video surfaced online showing a young girl bound in chains, the viral footage has sparked outrage and brought relief to residents who say the teenager, identified as Mercy, has endured years of silent suffering.
Rachel is a typical wicked woman I've ever seen here in my life. A woman that you cannot advise her, creating problems left and right. But that little girl, God has finally saved her from mother's hands.
Several residents who wishes to remain unanimous confess that they had long suspected abuse but were too afraid to denounce it openly. Another recalled her personal ordeal.
People should give her serious warning before releasing her, please. I'm just begging. I'm afraid of my life because I know her.
It's not up to a month that we had an issue. To the extent that she lied against my son who was locked up. She is a criminal. Today, the people of Peremont in Japumakolbong are united in their appeal. They are calling on the authorities to take the matter seriously and ensure justice prevails not only for little Mercy but also for Rachel's own children and the wider community. I think she needs to be locked up for as long as possible because she has no feelings for man. If that child spent a day more in that same situation, she would have lost her life. But thanks to the timely intervention of the security officers, she was saved. I think that wicked woman should be tied the same way she chained her own daughter. The case now lies in the hands of law enforcement as the shaken community waits anxiously to see whether the chains that bound Mercy will give way to the role of justice.
In the same vein, the Minister of Women's Empowerment and the Family has strongly condemned the maltreatment of children, particularly the recent case of the 7-year-old girl who was allegedly tortured. The government and the human rights advocates have joined forces to denounce such acts of violence meted on children. Sedi Chakutu has more on these different reactions.
A shocking video currently circulating on social media causes widespread outrage in Cameroon. It shows a girl of about 7 years old, tied up, chained and padlocked, undergoing acts of extreme violence. This unbearable scene quickly alerted human rights advocates and authorities who condemned this act.
When I saw that on social media this weekend, it was really so painful because barely this child was only, I think, 7 or 8 years old. And from every indication, she was in that condition for about 2 days. Most of these parents are parents too that came from abusive homes. Those are some of the reasons that you find them. They abuse their own children and don't feel like nothing is wrong with it. If you ask them, they'll tell you, we want to discipline the children are so stubborn. You cannot discipline a child as if the child is a slave. You cannot discipline a child as if the child does not have, is not a human or does not have blood running through their veins or does not feel pain.
Unfortunately, this case is part of a broader context of violence against children in Cameroon, where some remain vulnerable to such cruel and inhuman treatment.
We have a lot of things going wrong because the childhood of these children were taken away from them by abusive parents, by abusive relatives who pretend as if they really want to help these children, but they have actually nothing to offer, especially if there is no benefits. I keep saying benefits. Because if you look at a child that maybe the parents are abroad and they have to live with the auntie, they have all these benefits coming in like money, like dresses, like shoes, like all the goods they need to get. These children will be well treated. A lot of them will be well treated. Very few cases that you find the benefits are coming in and then the children are being maltreated.
To some human rights advocates, the mobilization of institutions and civil society is essential to prevent such acts and prosecute the perpetrators.
This is a call to action for all of us at different levels to report, because there might be other cases like that that we are not aware of. So it's a call for us to report such cases so that they are known and solutions are taken, so that we don't have such repetitive, horrible acts.
The Minister of Women Empowerment and the Family, on her part, issued a statement strongly condemning these acts of violence against children. She reiterated the importance of child protection and announced that investigations were underway to identify those responsible and provide assistance to the victim.
Another news, two Central African nationals known as Hervé and Kevin, aged 30 and 32 years old respectively, have been arrested by the Judicial Police Anti-Crime Unit in Douala, Bonanjo. They are accused of armed robbery, allegedly using firearms and toxic sprays to commit crimes in the city. The arrest follows a series of complaints filed by residents, as Innocent Aze tells us.
Hervé, 30 years old, and Kevin, 32, are accused of what officials of the Bonanjo Judicial Police term aggravated theft with the use of firearm and toxic sprays to ease their operation in the city of Douala. The two from Central African Republic, presented to the public at the Judicial Police in Bonanjo, were nabbed following denunciations by denizens.
Based on information received, our unit's anti-crime brigade was able to arrest two individuals of Central African nationality in possession of an automatic pistol, with which numerous acts of aggression were committed. They will be brought before the competent prosecutor's office after their exploitation.
According to the Cameroon Penal Code, Hervé and Kevin risk imprisonment from 3 months to 1 year and a fine of 50,000 to 300,000 francs CFA for carrying firearm without authorization. The exact punishment will depend on the nature of the firearm and circumstances of the possession. Similarly, 11 inmates of the New Central Prison Douala will have their jail terms increased for intimidation and threats through phone calls. They were traced through the numbers used to contact their targets by officials of the Judicial Police and those of the New Central Prison.
After receiving many complaints from users reporting cases of street telephone, investigations were conducted on the telephone numbers from which these calls were made. This is how we were able to identify within the Douala New Central Prison, and with the collaboration of the prison administration, 11 individuals specialized in this kind of offenses. This identified offender will be prosecuted in order to possibly see new sentences added to those they currently face.
Targets who often panic when receiving such calls are encouraged to be calm and report.
We want to remind the population not to panic when faced with any phone call, especially when you are dealing with people who do not have sufficient personal information about you, apart from a name which can easily be obtained from applications like CallUp.
He also assures the readiness and prompt reaction of the Judicial Police once a complaint is filed.
and calls on opposition leaders to unite in a bid to step up the fight for change in Cameroon and continue rising to the sky. The most recent is coming from a group of political leaders, including the national president of the African Movement for New Independence and Democracy, Madidem's national president, Aniset Ekane. Babila Jonathan reports.
Union for Change in Cameroon in 2025, a call from some opposition leaders less than 2 months before the October 12 presidential election. Cyril Sambaka, Anise Ekane, and Jekam Chameni are urging opposition political leaders, including presidential candidates, those whose candidatures were rejected, and others to come together behind a candidate of a coalition to unseat the 4-decade-old regime of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM. They think it is the surest path to obtain victory on October 12 and thereafter put the country through a foundational restructuring transitional process manned by a government of national unity. A government that will organize a constitutional referendum, general elections, including a 2-round presidential election that will give birth to a president of the republic who will have a single term of office of 3 to 5 years.
Away from politics, the Limbe Nautical Arts and Fisheries Institution is facing a challenge in attracting students due to the ongoing Anglophone crisis. Despite the significant investment and untapped potentials, enrollment has been very timid. This was made known during the 19th Ordinary Board session chaired by the Minister of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Husbandry, Dr. Tiger, as Davison Maimo Alimbe correspondent tells us.
It has been revealed that the Limbe Nautical Art and Fishery Institution, LINAFI, a state-of-the-art facility valued at over 10 billion CFA francs, is yet to operate at its full potential due to low and dwindling student enrollment caused by the ongoing Anglophone crisis.
We started, the number was high, but since the socio-political problems set in, people are sometimes not willing to send their children to this part of the country.
To tackle this issue, LINAFI's Board of Directors, led by the Minister of Livestock, Fishery and Animal Industry, Dr. Tiger, reviewed the 2024-2025 Management Account Report during its 19th Ordinary Session and strategized ways to boost student enrollment and fine-tune approaches to enhance training for fishermen and fish farmers in Cameroon.
So government is leaving no stone unturned to encourage the production of fish and fisheries products.
LINAFI Director Dr. Eta Collins Ayok stated that as part of the institution's mission to increase protein intake in Cameroon and create jobs and employment, the government plans to financially empower graduates to establish and improve their personal fish farms in the 2025-2026 program.
At the end of the training, they will come out viable projects that government will finance. And they will even take loans from certain banks that the government will be the collaterals, will be a guarantee to them.
Established by presidential decree on August 12, 2015, the institution has trained hundreds of young Cameroonians in fish-related farming, marine engineering, and navigation.
That's it for this first part of the news. Cameroon Today comes up next. Bertois, regional headquarters of the East region, which is equally the gateway to Chad, Central African Republic and Congo, is facing a pressing need for social amenities, particularly stable electricity supply. Despite its proximity to the Longpanga hydroelectric dam, the town's unstable power situation has plunged its residents into darkness, affecting local businesses. Many petty business operators have struggled to stay afloat due to the lack of electricity. Smajikan Gabriel reports.
Betua, chief town of the East region of Cameroon. The town remains very strategic for those heading to the Central African Republic, Chad and Congo. It is a town rich in agricultural produce as well as mining, but notwithstanding the beauty of the town, it has problems which are similar to enclave villages. Electricity poles planted all over the town, making one to think things are normal, but it is not the case. It's a natural thing for us. We are used to the daily outages, and we have our candles around our bed as we await if power will be restored. Close to the Lompanga hydroelectric dam, but unfortunately in Betua, inhabitants are in the dark. Our food in the refrigerator are all bad, and we are now forced to go back to the former ways of doing things. It's all on the company in charge, because my customers can't eat and they always complain. To make ends meet, some business operators have decided to get generators which they have found means to make it not to consume a lot of fuel. We need to pay for fuel, and a liter now is expensive to grand. It's weighing on us so much. I was forced to adapt mine this way to economize the consumption rate. I went and paid for fuel for 1,500 francs. See what I was given, and we can't even work with it, not to talk of making profit. It is also very difficult for housewives to prepare food, as many cover distances in search of electricity. We need to eat. I paid a bike from the quarter to come grind my corn, and when we arrive here, we spend double. In our neighborhood, no light. In the market, no power, and they use fuel to grind, which is not good for our health. Young entrepreneurs say the unstable power supply is causing them to go out of business. There is a great number of youths and women who, because of this situation, are now unemployed, and some don't even have anything to eat. This will cause them to start doing things they were not supposed to do, and causing problems within the society. Local authorities say they have been doing their best to ensure that life continues with the installation of solar lights, boreholes, and the CD2 projects, which have helped in tarring some roads as well as modernizing some markets. But again, things haven't changed. We are already making an effort. You could have noticed that we have solar lights, and we shall continue like that. I know it's not enough. Another major difficulty is that of roads. Majority of the roads are concentrated in towns, abandoning the peripheries. The main road, which is on the National Road number 1, is suffering from congestion, of which it could be decongested.
And now we talk sports. In some few minutes' time, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon will challenge Eswatini in a crunch FIFA World Cup qualifier game at the Madouaijo Stadium in Yaoundé. The Lions, who are trailing Cape Verde in Group D with 1 point difference, need a victory to relaunch their campaign for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. In the upcoming report, Smart Jikangebel gives us the stakes of the game and the greatest absentee for the squad that will face Eswatini.
The main objective of the Indomitable Lions as they challenge Eswatini is to go back to the top of Group D of the qualifiers for the FIFA World Cup 2026. To do this, the Indomitable Lions must defeat Eswatini, particularly if Cabo Verde fails to perform away to Mauritius. It will, however, not be an easy ride for the Indomitable Lions to break down the defensive barrier of Eswatini. Even though Eswatini is having just 2 points in the group, their defense has proven to be very solid and difficult to penetrate. To this, McBreeze and boys will have to search for other ways to penetrate the defensive block of Eswatini if they want a victory. Unfortunately, the match this evening will be played without midfield wizard Carlos Baleba, who is serving suspension for many yellow cards received. 6 other players, amongst them Michael Ngande, Zambo Angisa, Christopher Wu, Enzo Boyomo, Jackson Chachwa, and Nuhu Tolo must be very cautious in their game, as picking up another yellow card implies a suspension, and it will automatically put them away from the crucial clash against Cabo Verde next week in Praia. The Indomitable Lions will miss out on the services of defensive maestro Christopher Wu, who is still blocked in Spain as of the time of this report. Before the matches of this Thursday, Group D of Cameroon is headed by Cabo Verde, 13 points. Cameroon second with 12 points. Libya 8 points. Angola 7 points. Mauritius 5 points. And the Benjamin of the group is Eswatini with 2 points.
Unfortunately, we'll not be able to have the report on the 9-year-old girl whose aunt used a hot iron to press on her buttocks over the fact that she misplaced the sum of 500 francs CFA. We'll be coming to that report in our subsequent news edition. But that's it for the second part of the news. Talking Point is up next. My guest tonight is a gender activist. She's equally a human rights defender. She goes by the name MUMA BIH Yvonne. Good evening. It's a pleasure having you in Talking Point tonight.
Good evening, Immaculate. Thanks for having me once more. The pleasure is mine being on your set on this topical issue.
Tell me, what went through your thoughts after watching the disturbing images of a 7-year-old girl known as Mercy chained and abused by her own aunt? Could there really be an explanation for carrying out such an act?
When I saw the images of that 7-year-old tortured, chained child, my thoughts went wild. It's with a wrenching heart that I talk here, because I start asking questions. What has gone wrong with society? What is wrong? Do people watch images? Do people watch films and they want to act them in their houses? What could a 7-year-old child have done to merit such a hideous punishment? I think something is seriously wrong with this woman who perpetuated this act, and we pray that she gets out of her situation, or her punishment, her severe punishment, would deter others from posing such acts.
Now, cases of child abuse seem to be very common in Cameroon. Though we didn't have images today, there was another case that occurred in the Dogbong neighborhood. A 9-year-old girl child known by the name Samu Ndedi Nura allegedly suffered severe burns after her grand aunt allegedly placed a hot iron on her buttocks to punish her for losing the sum of 500 francs CFA. With all this that is happening, who should be blamed for all this?
Such cases are very rife today in Cameroon, given the socio-political situation of our country and the different conflicts. We find children who've been abandoned to themselves. We find children who have parents who have mental issues. This child is just one of so many victims, but her case is a call for concern. Look at the number of chains, look at the number of locks. Where did she prepare herself with all this material? God alone knows. Who is to blame? We blame society at large, because it's not for lack of sensitization. And from what I realized, the woman who perpetrated this act has children. For every woman who has born a child, you cannot go to that extent.
Now, during the interview conducted by our reporters on the field, neighbors made it clear to Mala Glory that this child, on several occasions, is repeatedly being beaten by her aunt. That means they were aware but decided to stay quiet. How should neighbors confronted with such cases react?
Fellow Cameroonians, we all hear that this woman has been violating the rights of this child all along. What were the neighbors waiting for? To raise an alarm. We have to be each other's keeper. We don't need to wait to be told that a child is in danger. Dear neighbors, dear other women, watch out for what is happening in your neighborhood. If you can't confront the person, that's why we have forces of law and order. Go to them, complain, and point out the space so that such lives can be saved.
Gender activist and human rights defender, what are the most significant challenges you people face on the field in preventing and responding to child abuse in our society today?
We talk about challenges. We know that you cannot send social workers to all the homes in Cameroon. We cannot put the police behind every Cameroonian. The challenges are huge and enormous. You know that mental health also is a real problem. May I ask here that this woman's health be checked? Is she normal to have posed such an act? Cameroon has a real problem. Cameroonians are the solution to our problems.
Now, what are the potential long-term effects of physical and emotional abuse on a child?
Yeah, on the child, it's going to be a long-term treatment. She needs to go through psychosocial, psychological, and even her mental health needs to be checked so that the effects of what she has lived do not live with her forever. Children like this can turn out to be very violent in future just because they were poorly managed. I think if at her age, if it's well managed, she may be able to come out of the suffering. Other children who go through this also need the same
Take this
treatment.
last question. The Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family in Cameroon faces criticism from human rights defenders regarding its effectiveness in handling cases of child abuse and violence meted against women. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the Ministry of Women's Empowerment and the Family can only caution. They can only warn. They can only raise an alarm vis-a-vis such happenings. It's an open sensitization for citizens of this country to beware of such happenings in their environment. The ministry can only raise this awareness and through their services in the different divisions and regions, sensitize the population against violence that is on the increase. We know that people have different problems, but cases of such violence should be reported immediately. We cannot blame the ministry. The ministry cannot send social workers into every household. Again, I repeat, Immaculate, Cameroonians should be each other's keeper. You hear the cries of a child constantly in a home, check out that home, report, why not? Thank you.
MUMA BIH Yvonne, gender activist and human rights defender, thank you so much for your time. And that's what put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for always staying with us. Stay in the company of interesting programs on Equinoxe Television and have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow, same time, God willing. Bye-bye for now.